and referrals goes hand in hand with what we're going to do next, which is employment prep. What I'm going to start off with is actually just showing you the amount of resources that we're going to get through. It's going to be informational, but I would just want you to know why I'm not going to send everything in the chat, and it's just because there'd be way too many files to do so. But if you go into employment prep, you're going to see what I'm talking about. If you choose the upside down I, these are all, you're going to hear all of these resources mentioned throughout this class, right from the master application all the way down. You're also going to notice that at the last item, I'm focusing here, I realized the presentation that was loaded is missing some slides. So I'm going to be using the one down here that says employment prep presentation revised. Okay, so just keep that in mind. And any links that we do use throughout this class, I'll also share them with you in the chat as we're going about, so you have those. Okay, so let me get started here. So I have the honor of kind of wrapping up this second to last day of graduation. So this is the idea for this presentation, is for us to, once again, mutually think about our own journeys when it's come to employment, but most importantly, how can we support people on their journeys to finding and then applying and going through the process of securing employment, and what what trips can come up here and there. Along with that, Joe Ruiz, who is on the board of Project Return. He's also works for CASRA, which I'll get to in a second. And he is Renee, Helen, and I, our mentor. This is a quote from him. I told him I was going to quote him. And so he says, show up, be there, do the job, those don't stink. Those are the wise words from Joe Ruiz. So keep that in mind, my fellow nightcappers. All right. So moving along. First thing we're going to do is some box breathing, right? Renee mentioned this yesterday. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to pull up a video. And what I like about this video is that there aren't any words. It's more just sound and images. And once again, as we're going through, sometimes it's helpful to be collecting these resources. So if it is for you, make sure this is for everybody. Here's a link to the one we're about to do right now. It's just so you know. And then feel free, you can turn off your camera if you like. It's literally 1 minute. Right? And so you can focus, whatever helps you get into your zone. It's really important that we do what works for us, because that's the best way we can help others see it in action. All right, so here we go. And I will do the same, and I'll be quiet. You can come back as you're getting yourselves going. How does it feel to get a little more oxygen in there? And if you're around major cities, a little smog as well, as we are here in LA. But it does help to be mindful of how we breathe, especially when we're working with our fellow peers. So thank you for starting that off. All right. Now let me get back into the presentation. Okay. Cool. So for today's learning objectives, we're going to, once again, this is going to be more of an informational class, but you will have a breakout room activity that's going to be 2 parts to kind of work through the application of it and to look at how we as a peer support specialist can help someone along this journey. The idea, you'll notice, like, all of these objectives are the starting point, not the ending point, right? So we're not going to get through everything that is employment prep, but we can definitely discuss and share what resources we have, what experiences and knowledge, along with the idea of proving the ability to provide assistance for our peers as they go through employment and finding employment, learning how to navigate DB 101. So we'll get into that, disability benefits, talking about Social Security, SSI, SSDI, right? And whether or not some of those fallacies that if you're getting SSI, SSDI, you can't work, and if you do, you lose it, all that kind of stuff. Improve our ability to research and search for jobs, and in those tools and skills. Creating the essential documents that you're going to submit in any application. Learning how to conduct a job search using specific search engines, let's say like Indeed, which I'll reference later on, and other websites versus, for example, like Craigslist, which is learning interview preparation and skills. And once again, the ultimate goal or the ultimate job is to continue to stay in our work, right? And finding fulfilling, meaningful work that is actually beneficial for us. So this is the goals for today. Okay. So here is the first link. And so before I continue, raise your hand if you've heard of benefits planning query. Has anyone heard of this before? Just want to see? Okay, so y'all see me to this. So what I'm going to do is what I'm actually, and thank you for bearing with me because I'm going to be going back and forth, just making sure we're on the same page. All right. So here is the link for what I'm about to show you. And it's important just to, and I highly encourage you to save these links. I know Brenda was talking about creating like a drive and all of that, because it does help just to know what it is that you're looking for and when you have all these tools. So this is from the Social Security Administration. The first thing that's really important, talking about fallacies or false truths. Notice up here it says Social Security and SSI payments will continue during the government shutdown. So that's important to note, right? And it's key with everything going on, acknowledging the reality. And so what's really cool about this page, and I highly encourage you to take some time to look through it, is that it really gives us the idea of what resources are available, right, for people who are, already contacting Social Security Administration, and in terms of their needs and lives, but also with work. So in particular, the benefits planning query, or the BPQY, is a tool that's used to get the information about the status of a person's disability benefits, if they need to schedule appointments for reviews, health insurance, and work history, right? And so this is important in terms of someone that's going to return to work or for the first time entering work. So that's really important as well. And so remember that before, when we're helping anyone try to navigate with any types of benefits and work, it's important to get the details and figure out exactly what that person's situation is. Okay. And so, and then Helen, if anyone has a question, please let me know so that way I can pause as well.
Okay, Jody has her hand up.
All right, Jody.
Just so everybody knows, if you have a payee on your SSI, you cannot make an account to look things up on the site. So I know this because I am my daughter's payee, and we asked, why can't we make a page for her? And that's what they told me is, if you have a payee, you cannot make a portal for your site to look up your benefits or anything.
It's really important to know. Thank you for that, Jody. And
You're welcome.
Obviously from firsthand experience. So these are the little tips that we're talking about, right? Because unless you've already experienced or have experience with the Social Security Administration, these are things that you kind of find out the hard way at times, right? And I'll get into my own experiences with EDD and all of that. But down here, what's really important is on this link, there's a PDF. And what it does, it breaks down the benefits planning query handbook. And so I would highly encourage you to save this. Obviously, we're not going to go through all 15 pages, but it tells you how to request it, looking at beneficiary requests. The red book, you'll hear that a lot when it comes to Social Security Administration. And remember that you're not required to be an expert in all of this. And I'll be honest with you, when we're going through all of this, a lot of it is learning on the go, right? Particularly with the person that we're meeting with here. But once again, the key idea for this part is that the BPQY, or the benefits planning query, is part of the Social Security Administration's efforts, right, to inform us of those benefits and supplemental benefits and how they apply, especially when it comes to work, right? So keep in mind that there are certain parameters in there And just because you do receive benefits doesn't mean that you can't, but there are limitations as well. So that's really important to know. The next one that we're going to get into is as follows. I'm just going to go straight. I'm just going to give you the link. So along with the Red Book and the benefits query, the Social Security Administration also has a section in here that focuses on work incentives planning and assistance, right? And it's called the Ticket to Work and Work Incentives in here. And so what are the work incentives planning and assistance? These are programs that severe people who are already working or who are about to start working. So notice that you're either working or you're about in the beginning. They help beneficiaries provide information about the availability of work supports. The WIPAs also provide accurate and individualized information about the effects of work benefits on health insurance, right? Because everything is connected, and that's really important. They verify a person's benefits to make sure that they have the right information to find the right programs that fit them. And they also provide counseling and support about those benefits and discuss how the effect of work can impact what they're receiving, right? And so once again, these links, if you ever have a member that's going to need them, it will help you understand kind of that formula and how to work through it as well. Okay. Y'all good with me so far? I know I'm throwing a lot of information out there. So thank you for bearing with me. Okay. So when it comes to the Ticket to Work, this site in particular is really cool because what it does on the right-hand side, it gives you ways to search your information, right? And so the search option here would be to search a series of questions to determine how ready you are for a program, right? What is available for you and which one suits you best. Or you can look at this other option when you're actually going to be focused on listing all the service providers that are in your zip code. And this can give you more of a guidance in terms of which ones are better suited for you, right? So once again, looking at the information, looking at what the goals are for the particular peer, and then if it impacts benefits, what are the trade-offs in there? So once again, more of an overview, coming back and just letting you know that these services are readily available for us to use as well. Sorry. Too many tabs. Story of my life. All right, there we go. So these next slides are the same ones I just showed you about the work and save incentives plan and assistance. And then this is also the one that we just talked about, Ticket to Work as well, okay? The other one is a Disability Benefits 101, and this is from California. And out of curiosity, what have you heard about disability benefits when it comes to the state of California? Anybody? And then Helen, feel free to just let them know because I'm still trying to answer it off here. What do you know about benefits when it comes to our state?
They're not taxable.
Say that again, Lisa?
That's all I know. They're not taxable.
They're not taxable, right? So if you're receiving benefits, there's no taxes on them. That's why they're benefits. Good, right? Now, if you look at the link that I just shared with you in the chat, this is where, go ahead, Zaire, you can add to it.
Yeah, sorry it took so long. Like you said, on the tabs. Yeah, I didn't know here. I was giving what was that, SSDI about a year and a half ago.
Okay.
And they stopped it without even telling me, without even sending a letter. And it was because my wife had got a raise. And I was kind of shocked. I mean, what's my disability have to do with her? She's my payee. And by her getting a raise, they stopped it. It's like that. I didn't know that. That was cold.
Yeah. And you're right. And Zaire, I appreciate you practicing that self-disclosure because there is no like friendly reminder or let you know, hey, your benefits are going to be cut or delayed. It just happens, right? It's very systematic in there. And so, and I've had that happen to me when I was getting, from the state as well, when I worked one day for $50 and they stopped my benefits, right? And so we have to be very mindful of how the system works because although in peer support, we're about the gray, we're about it depends, the rainbow, how you want to do that. We do live in a world when it comes to money in particular, where things can be very black and white, right? If you're late on paying your rent, that has a consequence, or your credit card or whatever. And so as we're helping people navigate that, it's essential that we be mindful of those timelines and realities. Lisa, did you have another comment or question, or is that still up from before? Can you hear me, Lisa?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Maybe not a question, but a statement. Marriage plays a big role on your disability. What your spouse make, what benefits your spouse has. Two people on disability getting married basically might even take away both your benefits, or definitely will reduce your benefits.
I think generally the formula is they'll add them together and give the equivalent of the higher person's income.
Yeah. And that's really important to know. Thank you, Lisa, for bringing that up, right? That the impact, we're talking about payees. Jody talked about that, Zaire talked about that, right? But also if you're in a relationship, right, and you get married, that does impact as well. And so thank you, Helen, for chiming in as well. You're not just going to get it all. There's definitely a formula that gets played into there, because one of the ways the system is set up, and this is just my interpretation, right, is that you're given a certain amount, you're never given a lot or more, or what you would need for everything, right? And that's just, we could talk about inflation, all these other things. So there's always a formula, and it's important to know if you are in a situation or helping someone with that there will be impact depending on who else is involved in the family as well. Go ahead, Jody.
Just so everybody knows, if you have to get in contact with Social Security, remember to make an appointment to go in, and also call early in the morning, because you will be on hold for 2 hours at least. So something to know.
That is real talk. And it sounds like you speak from experience there.
Oh yeah, very much
And-
so.
Yeah.
I'm going to chime in. It seems
Mhm.
obvious, but sometimes when you look online, it's not clear. Call the local office, like call the Long Beach office, call the Lakewood office. Don't call the big national number. Typically that cuts down at least in Long Beach, it would cut down the time quite a bit.
I
I mean,
called
not quite a bit, from
the
2 hours
office.
to 1.5.
Yeah, but I've called our local office, and I'm still getting placed into that 1-800 office, and still
Mm.
waiting on hold, and it is awful. So that's why they say, I have known, get up early and call as soon as you can, and definitely make appointments, because otherwise you'll be sitting in that office all day long.
Yeah.
That's an excellent point.
Another thing,
Oh.
as a supporter, Carlos, do you mind if I chime in
No,
one
go
more
ahead.
thing? Is work to build that relationship. So there's a man in the Long Beach office, Mr. Garcia, who's super helpful. So we would try and target him in a good way. We would try and work with him, because he knew our agency. He knew that we'd be prepared. There were still long wait times, but I think it was more efficient if you can build that relationship. So over time.
Yes. And that's an important tool there, a trick as well, right? How you want to see it. If you find someone who is willing to help, right? Build that relationship, right? And networking, which we're going to get into as well. So here, if you can do it quickly, your answer. Go ahead.
Okay, yeah, I wanted to ask Helen. She said they combined the two incomes. Is that only one, or so that means then you would have to split that one income that they gave you, the higher up?
Well,
You two would have to go off that one that was supposed to be for
Okay.
one individual. Two have to live off
Well,
that one income.
yeah, so what I say is, like, I'm not an expert. I haven't been working with this for over a year. But my understanding is, like, if two people are married and they put the incomes together, and then they'll look at separately the higher income, and they'll just make those match. You know what I'm saying? But again, I don't
I'm
want to
confused when they
go
make
down
those
this road.
match. That's one income that the two would have to
Okay.
split.
Okay, right. So
Okay.
let's pick random numbers. Each person makes one person makes 1,500, one person gets 500. They get married. you would think it would be 2,000 is 500 plus 1,500, but what they do
Right.
is they bring it down to 1,500 because that's the higher of the two numbers. Does that make
Okay.
sense? Okay.
Then they split the 1,500,
Right.
756.
They both.
Well, they give the couple 1,500 and then the couple
Oh, that's
goes.
what I'm saying. That's one in, yeah, one in.
Okay, yeah, one
You're
income,
right.
right.
You're right, Zaire. Thank you for that clarification. Thank you, Helen, as well. And so we started with the benefits and the potential trips, in there because that is an important thing to know. And like I think it was Zaire who mentioned that they'll cut your benefits, if there's any question marks, right? There's so much fraud and all these other things out there that makes it very challenging. Now we're going to switch gears a little bit in terms of how we can help our peers, right? Our consumers, our members prepare for the process of employment. Now, the first thing I will say, first and foremost, is that I hope that we can agree that you cannot force anyone to do anything they're not ready for, right? If you're not ready, you can't force them. So let's say we're beyond that already. They want to start this process. They either want to go back into the workforce or for the first time. Okay. Now, the first part of this that we're going to recommend is a master application. So I'm going to ask you all, well, what is a master application and why does it matter? And feel free to yourself or put in the chat. What the heck is a master application? And if you're not sure, you can say, no. Any thoughts? Okay, Michael says blueprint, right?
Doesn't
Right.
it say like a general guide to like a application?
General guide for application. Yes, definitely. It's a blueprint, a general guide, right? And so why would it be important to have this general blueprint, if you will? Right? Why would that matter? And then anybody, any thoughts? I might start calling randomly. Go ahead, Claudia. Thank you.
Would it help the peer supporter to go ahead and assist the consumer or the member to be like, okay, I'm gonna go ahead and start searching to see where you fit. So, and then if the employer, like staffing agency would say, hey, yeah, go ahead and forward me that application. It's a master resume or application to show the, I guess the qualifications of what that person has.
Yeah, definitely, right? To make those connections, what's feasible with the person, right, in terms of actual work and having some general parameters to be able to look at what actually works in there, right? So it's what it sounds like. It's the basic fundamentals of that person. What are their skills, education, experience, right? Focus, region, all of that. That, like Michael just said in the chat, that can be amended, that can be changed as needed, right? And so this is why we suggest having a master application that you can tweak as needed and work through moving forward, especially if you're going to be applying to multiple jobs and multiple different types of jobs with this member working with, right, and not for. So that's the first part. Remember, all of these are listed in the student portal in terms of resources as well. So along with the master application, which we just answered, a resume, right? I know this sounds trivial, y'all, but what's the purpose of a resume? And why does it matter?
To outline your experience,
What kind
and
of
like
experience?
work experience, knowledge, skills, summary of what you've been doing. And what was the second question?
Why does it matter?
It's kind of like, okay, so I'm thinking like it's selling yourself to that employer, but it's not selling. It's like your, what do you call it?
Well, in a sense, right? You're
Presenting yourself.
you're trying to
to
make
the
yourself as
employer.
appealing, right, as possible,
Yes.
right?
Mhm.
And so thank you, Samantha. I saw you kind of working through there, but in some way you are. You're presenting yourself. You're like, look at me, right? Look what you get, all of that, but just in written form, right? So definitely for that. So, and this may seem, like I said, this isn't necessarily like anything new per se. You might be like, yes, I know about master application and a resume. These are reminders though. And remember, we're going to be working with people who may not have experience with this. And so it's important to kind of remind them for that. So thank you. Now, when we're talking about resumes, here's just a sample template. There's so many different kinds now, right? But what's really important in any kind of resume you work on is to focus on key terms, right? They're also known as job descriptors, those transferable skills, right? And along with that, what are your most fundamental abilities and skills? What can you do well, right? Active listening is something that is needed everywhere, right? Public speaking, you're going to do some form of that in any type of work. What are those key responsibilities that you've had before? right? Maybe you've been able to collaborate with other people, right? Or lead on certain projects. And if you've already attained certain certificates, right? Like a Medi-Cal peer support specialist certification that you can add to your resume, what are they, right? Are you bilingual? Are you trilingual, right? What other abilities and trainings have you experienced? Are you CPR and first aid certified? And we can go on and on and on. And then Helen, let me know if there's any questions or comments, and then I will address them as well. Okay. Now, here's something that gets challenging, right? When you have certain realities that take place, and there are certain hurdles in our employment history. One, because of lack of work. So you have not worked. Or maybe you did work, but then there's a few years where you didn't. Or something happened and you ended up being fired or terminated, or you ended up quitting or resigning, right? These are things that are real. And another one too is, right, if you're formerly incarcerated and have a criminal record. Now in California, we keep talking about California, right? There is a Fair Chance Act, and it can ban the box where you don't necessarily have to disclose that, right, until you continue in a certain part of the process, right, in terms of working there. And so it used to be that if you had a felony, if you had a conviction, you had to check this off, and then you basically were nullified from any opportunities, right? They were just kind of canceled because as soon as you check off that box, they know, right? We've gotten to a point where we are about second chances, right? And then what I'm gonna do right now is I'm gonna share a story with you because CAPS just started our fourth cohort at the California Institution for Men, right? CIM, Chino for CDCR. And we've had multiple alumni now that have been released after 20, 25, 30, 35 years in prison. And when they come to us as they're trying to figure out how to navigate in this current state of the world in 2025, imagine being at a certain place for 3 decades and then coming back into our world, how much of that has changed, right? One of the biggest hurdles that is confronted, right, is the digital literacy, how to use this technology. And so with other students, alumni like yourselves, with Miguel, with Billy, with Freddie, with Ali, with Rigo, they come to the office and we literally are from scratch creating a resume for the first time, creating a cover letter, showing them how to set up an email, right? And so for some members, and I know we talked about it earlier, the whole doing with, doing for, in the beginning, there's going to be a lot doing for because they're still learning, right? But as you continue, you ease off of that in there. And I've learned so much from these individuals in terms of perseverance, but also how to navigate and making sure that I am speaking or writing or supporting for them, not necessarily what I think they should be doing or saying, right? And so it is tedious at times. It is stressful. It is exhausting. They will get tired, right? I know, like with Ali, he was just like, oh, I just want to work. I just want to work. And, as anyone knows, looking for work is the most thankless job there is because no one pays you. And it costs you money to drive and to make copies and do all of this, right? And you're looking for a chance, a foot in the door. And that's a reality too, because the working world has shifted a lot. It's not what it used to be. So my mother is currently about to be this month, her 45th year as a janitor at the same hospital. 45 years she's been there. I'm like, they should give her the keys to the damn hospital. No, but and then for me, I've shifted so much, right? And now we have this gig economy. So it's not what it used to be on both ends, right? In there. And so it's just something to keep in mind. I just wanted to let you know like that when you're in there. And I'll be honest with you, sometimes it is stressful because I know I have no control, no say over which opportunities will be presented to these people, even though I fully believe they're ready and capable to do so, right? So, but if we're there to journey with them, it makes a huge difference. And they get it. They know that you got their back. And so it helps as well. So these are common hurdles. These are real. Cover letters are interviewing and networking. A cover letter in itself, right? It's the other side of that resume, kind of gives you an opportunity to give more information about your background, maybe something that wasn't listed in your resume, or maybe go into more detail depending on the work that you're applying for. This is now something that's usually common and standard as well. Okay, here's an example of a cover letter. And remember, having these resources available is helpful, so you don't always have to be starting from scratch, right? Or if the person that you're working with is, and then they can continue to adapt it as well. mock interviews. Has anyone done mock interviews? Curiosity? Has anyone done them? Yeah. What do you think about them? I just want to take like 2 or 3 people. What are your thoughts about mock interviews? Helpful, not helpful, whatever. How does it work? Go ahead,
I
Carla.
think they're helpful.
ahead,
I've
Jody.
been, it's been a long, 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 long time. But when I was doing them, it was like, it was such a practice that when you went on the regular interview, you weren't as nervous. It kind of deflated some of the anxiety.
Thank you for that real talk. Carla, what about you? And then Zaire.
I have done mock interviews before, and both of the ones that were like the most different ones were one was doing something for the Grammys actually. He was doing IT work. And then the other one was it was a little difficult because the gentleman had been incarcerated for 30 years. And so a lot of the questions that I was asking, um, he didn't really understand them. So giving him that mock interview helped him just kind of form the answers in his head and have it like just kind of ready to go and not gag up on his words because I noticed he was doing that a lot. But we had a second mock-up interview and honestly, he nailed it. He just needed some practice. He was a little rusty, he was nervous even just with me. And I'm like, I'm not even your interviewee, but um, no, it's good practice for them, especially because some of the interviews that they have to do, like with the probation officer, it's a totally different situation than trying to sell yourself to get employed. So yeah.
Definitely. Thank you for that, Carla. And also Jody. Zaire, what do you have?
Okay, yeah. Mock interviews are very helpful. It reminds me of being in a boxing ring. There's parameters. Once you practice, these companies I work with, they call it atmosphere. And we did mock interviews every morning in that company. For the 2 years I worked there, every single morning. And once you get comfortable in that ring, those parameters, there's only so much that they can offer and you can say about whatever you're applying for. So all that fear comes down because that's only, once I get up against the ropes, I got this. It's only so much that they can answer. I mean, that they can ask me whatever I'm applying for. So, you get used to those parameters and, well, they can't go outside this. Oh, you feel so much comfortable now going toe to toe.
Awesome. Thank you for that, Zaire. So yeah, I'm going to connect with Jody, Carla, and Zaire said, right? So practice does help, especially with the nerves, right? In there. The last thing you want to do is to do all that freaking work to get an interview and then bomb the interview because you're so stressed out that you say like, you're like, oh, fuck. And they're like, oh, no, oh, fuck. I said the fuck again. And, or whatever it is, or you're sweating through your clothes or what. So the breathing, right? Even the box breathing, these little elements help. And the practice does keep us going, right? In there. And I would highly encourage you to think about just, keeping all of our interview skills fresh in there. So along those lines, here are some examples of common interview questions. And we're actually going to come back to these. There's going to be one of the activities is about a mock interview. So we'll get to that. So anywhere from tell me who you are to what are your salary expectations? Getting down to it, right? Talking about money. And that can be very stressful as too, unless it's already stated for you. If we're hourly, they don't ask you how much you make. They tell you. There's a very difference there. Okay. So here are what we're going to do now is we're going to switch and I'm going to watch a quick video about common questions, nonverbal communication, and more in terms of interviewing. Okay. So let me just pop this up real quick. And I found these on Indeed, and Indeed actually does a lot of good work for setting up resources. And it's obviously, if any of you have used it, you know that obviously if you're looking for work, that's one of the sites. I'm not getting any money from this, so don't think that I'm promoting them for that or any other case. All right, so let's watch this and then we'll come back.
Arguably the most crucial part of the job search, an interview can make or break an opportunity. So to help you really prepare, we're going to dissect and analyze an entire interview from start to finish. I'll be sprinkling in a mix of tips about body language, etiquette, and how to answer common questions. Like when exactly does the interview start? How do you deal with nerves? And how soon can you follow up? For years, athletes have used science and data analysis to improve. Now, we are doing the same for job seekers everywhere. This is Job Science. Meet Anya, a recent grad majoring in business administration. She's interviewing for an entry-level project management position. Note her posture. Head up, shoulders pulled back, no slouching, and no laid-backness. The interview begins the minute you walk into the building. Anya treats everyone in the office with respect while keeping eye contact. From security personnel to receptionists, anyone you run into on your way in could be asked to give feedback on you. It's normal to be nervous. When nerves kick in, the natural human response is to take short breaths and breathe faster. Stay calm by taking a deep breath before entering. Hold it, count to 3, and then slowly breathe out. Pause. First, ace those introductions. Greet everyone in a way that is authentic to you, like, hey, nice to meet you, and then say their name. That one always works. You know, you're more likely to remember their name if you say it out loud when you first meet. A lot of the time, small talk comes up before any questions. It's good to have a few current events or topics in mind. You can't possibly predict what they're gonna ask, but you can practice answering the common ones, like, why do you wanna work here? What makes you unique? Let's see what our interviewer asks.
So I want to hear more. Tell me a little about your experience and what you'd bring to this role.
Pause. When this is asked, they're looking to learn what makes you stand out. Be honest with your answers. If that means having to pause and think for a second, that is all right. Think about your past experiences and how the role lines up with your future goals. It never hurts to be honest.
Great question. Ever since I was young, I've always been the organized one in my family. Whether it was helping my parents schedule vacations or color coordinating my closet, naturally that lifestyle got me here, project management. I've been a people person for as long as I can remember. Plain and simple, I love team building and making sure everyone has a part. Just the other month.
Ooh, just really quick, don't speak negatively about previous places you've worked. Instead, talk about what you've learned.
I helped lead a team of 5 to deliver a 3-week sales project a few days ahead of schedule. I'd love to bring these things here.
Perfect. A response like this not only answers the question, but also shows your personality. But remember, there's no one right way to interview and answer questions. Be yourself and let your personality shine. Be aware of your movements. Practice polite, confident body language. Subtly miming your interviewer's posture can actually create a sense of connection. Of all places, unnecessary movements are hard to ignore in an interview. Whether it's tapping your fingers or bouncing your leg, be aware and stay present.
Hey, it's been great chatting so far. I guess my last question is, do you have any questions for me?
Ooh, this is a hot one. Make sure to have a short list of questions for your employer in your back pocket. Ask the questions you would if you got the job. If tomorrow was your first day, what would you want to know from the manager? Even if you don't have any burning questions, asking a few shows that you did your homework and that you really care. Some include, what do you like best about working here? What are some mistakes people have made in this position? What is a goal you're currently working toward? How will my performance be evaluated?
Well, I did read that you're expanding your software team next quarter. I'm curious how you plan to carry that out.
The interview isn't actually over. Always follow up within 24 hours with a thank you email to the hiring manager. This can be a quick note simply thanking them for their time, or a longer one that elaborates on some of the things you talked about. It's key to leaving a lasting impression. This was the breakdown of an interview. Till next time.
All right, what, either in the chat or you can unmute yourself, what's a takeaway? So if you could just, what's something that you took away from that video? You don't necessarily have to agree with them. What's a takeaway that you have? Feel free to either unmute yourself or just put in the chat, and then Helen can also help me read some of those that come up. What's one of your takeaways? And as you're thinking and reflecting, go ahead, Charles. I'll start off with you.
Well, I like the questions that was asked to the interviewer. That was
So the quality of the questions, right?
yes, yes,
Definitely. Thank you for that.
very good.
Yes, appreciate that.
I appreciated that there was a beginning, middle, and end. So like right when you walk in, like you're on. So be very mindful, make eye contact, have good posture, and then be prepared for those questions. And then at the end, have the closing questions to come up with. So, and then at the very end, the thank you. So I just love that you can kind of check off a list.
Yeah, it was very well set up, right? And that's why I definitely chose this video, because there's so many other ones, but this one is definitely straightforward there as well. All right. Let's see what else we have over here. Sarah says, be thoughtful, intentional about remembering people's names. The details do help. Jody mentioned things are really changed since, back in the day. One of the biggest takeaways that I have personally and from this video is the art of pausing. Right? We struggle as a world with silence. And in an interview, if I'm still trying to think of my answer, and let's say Carla is interviewing me and I'm like, those are called fillers. We're just filling up the silence with noise, right? Think about all of those sounds versus like, and then continuing. But that requires practice, right? Like Zaire was talking about. But the art of pausing is very helpful because it allows you to kind of connect with yourself and potentially take a deep breath. So thank you for that feedback. Okay. Now we're going to keep this going. So this is what I'm going to have you do next. You're going to be put into breakout rooms, about teams of 3 or 4. And what you're going to do is you're going to use the link below that is the site for CASRA. CASRA stands for the California Association of Social Rehabilitation Agencies. And I'm going to show you the link in a second. These are actual job postings for peer support specialist jobs, right? And so what I'm going to ask you to do is, as a team, and I was trying to figure out like, do I ask you to look for a job that a potential peer could have you, ask for, or one that maybe someone in your cohort, a fellow, nightcapper may be looking into. But so I'm going to ask you to really focus on actual job leads, in particular in peer support, because obviously that's what we're talking about. So if you go to the link that is CASRA, and let me just show you here. It'll pop up to this site, and I highly encourage you to save this link. Project Return and a bunch of other mental behavioral health organizations are connected to CASRA. So you go to the top right-hand corners and say member agency jobs. And the cool thing about this, these are real jobs, and they're separated by county across the state, right? All the way from Alameda, and you keep going all the way. Look at that. Project Return is under LA County, and all the way to Sacramento, San Francisco, and so on to the now, right? And just to kind of give you an idea, okay? And so I'm going to ask you to do some research, use CASRA. And by the way, you're like, oh, I have another, search engine. Do that too. But I want you all to figure and find together, as you're doing the research, find one job posting. You're like, you know what? This is actually something that I would apply for, or this looks interesting, right? And start talking about why is it that position with that organization in that area is something that you're gravitating towards. Another way you may do this, there may be, once again, one of you who's actually looking for work, and maybe the rest of you are working. You may want to help your fellow peer with that as well. Some of you may be thinking about options. So we're making this personal, but also practicing through this so that you can get into the habit of how you would help someone else. Does that make sense so far? I hope so. All right, go ahead, Jody.
Can you put the link in the chat so we can get it?
You got it. So that's exactly what I was going to do. So thank you for the reminder. Here is the link. It's also live in the presentation slide, so you can click on it and use it as well. And then you're going to have 15 minutes. So really have a conversation about this, right? Because ultimately, even if you love your job, like I love my job, I love working with Project Return and Helen, it's good to me to stay on the know of what's changing, what's evolving, because I may need it in the future, but most importantly, I can help other people with it in the now. I forget. All right. So just bear with me for some more information, and thank you for absorbing and kind of sharing with each other what you already know and kind of those resources. Okay. So along with this part, something else that we need to take into consideration are skills that we possess, but also networking, right? There's a lot of hidden rules, just like in school, just in employment, right? There's like the unwritten rules, right? Or the hidden rules in there. And a lot of that has to do with making connections with other people, AKA networking, Helen talked about if you find a source at an organization, let's say the Social Security Administration, and you know they're solid, you know they care about the work, why not develop that opportunity by networking? So when we talk about skill statement and networking, we're looking at what are your interests or what are the peers' interests? What skills do they possess? What are their strengths? And then most importantly, what are their values? And in which organization and job can actually help support that. I'm going to show you another video real quick. This one is also from Indeed, and this is going to talk a little bit more about what this looks like as well. So. And thank you, Jody, for letting me know that the audio was off during break. Hopefully, if you don't hear it, the audio, please let me know. Anyway, okay, here we go.
Networking. It's a skill that comes easy to some, but for tons of people, myself included, it's a skill that's acquired. Research shows that referrals are a top source of hires, meaning those personal relationships, they can really pay off. So we're revealing the secrets of networking and answering the question we've all asked at some point. Is who you know more important than what you know? For years, athletes have used science and data analysis to improve. Now, we are doing the same for job seekers everywhere. This is Job Science. When it comes to networking and social events, there is nothing wrong with going alone. Putting yourself in a position to talk to new people, it's actually a good thing. You never know who you'll meet, who they might know, or how they can contribute to finding your next job. Meet Jess, a retail sales associate. She's attending her first ever Fashion Career Expo. A cool way to break the ice in a group setting is by wearing something that pops. It makes for a good conversation starter.
Hey, I love your shoes. Thank you. I just got them. I'm Jess. Rhea. Nice to meet you.
Be yourself. That is the most important thing here. There's no need to try to be someone else or someone you're not. If you're looking to start an authentic relationship, it's key to ask about the other person first.
So what brings you here? I'm actually a buyer. I'm a sales associate. Cool. So
The head tilt. This is the universal sign that says, I'm listening, purely through body language. And while you are listening, do so empathetically and with curiosity about the other person's career.
Ben.
Oh, Jess recognizes someone. That is what happens when you research your connections. This can help you focus your energy on talking to the right people.
I haven't seen you since we worked together. How are you?
I'm great. I'm actually managing another boutique not too far from here.
Once you've made a genuine connection, feel free to bring up the topic of jobs, even if it doesn't come up naturally in the conversation.
Hey, do you happen to need any sales associates or stylists even?
Let's pause here. The brain can actually detect confidence in another's voice. Jess, she's definitely feeling herself. Smooth.
I'm looking.
Oh, yeah, I'll pass along your info. You have any business cards?
Yeah.
It's always good to have your business card and resume on you, especially at these kinds of things, but only give them out when asked for.
Rhea. Ben, this is Rhea.
Nice. Once in a while, think of people you know who should know each other but don't, and then introduce them. Follow up to see if their meeting was worthwhile. This one's all about paying it forward. This was the breakdown of networking.
All right. So question for you all, why does networking matter? Based on what the information of the video or just your own lived experiences? Why is networking important for us? Go ahead, Claudia, start it off, please.
It's because you're giving your personality, you're showing them who you are, especially in an open setting, in that you're just there meeting other people. But then when you start to go ahead and talk to someone about your background, they're seeing who you really are on the outside.
You're seeing you outside of that space, right?
Mhm.
Thank you for that. Lisette, Zaire, and then Jody. Go ahead, Lisette. Ooh, a little Halloween.
Especially when working, thank you. Especially when working with a caseload, it's good to know direct people to connect them with, especially for those resources that you may not know too much of or have within your organization.
Agreed. So connecting them to resources, maybe a warm handoff if needed, right? Building that rapport. Excellent. All right. Let's go with Zaire, and then Jody, and then Lisa.
Yeah, network was important. I like how she kind of doubled up on him. She said a sales associate, and then she said, or a hairstylist. So, going out there, she threw two shots to one, just networking. The old saying, it's not what you know, sometimes it's who you know. So you never know who you might meet.
Definitely. Thank you for that. Zaire. All right, Jody, what do you have?
Marketing yourself. You're putting yourself out there. I always tell this to my husband. He doesn't do it often, but he's in the entertainment field. And so I say marketing yourself is important because you're pretty much you're selling yourself. You're selling who you are and what you're doing. So it's putting yourself to say, hey, I can do this. I'm a really good person, but doing it in a way that is cordial and inviting.
I appreciate those reminders, cordial and inviting. Yeah, you don't want to come in so strong that you create resistance. That's the last thing you want. All right, go ahead, Lisa.
I was thinking about the job I currently have now. I promoted to that from another position, but one of the other coworkers from another department told me, if you really want this job, the people in that office are cat lovers, and you have to let them know that you have a cat. And that just, by the time when they called me back from the second interview, they was like, you're the only one we called back. We just plan on hiring you anyway. So I was like,
It's good to know some insider knowledge there, right? That's awesome. Yeah. And so here's the thing, right? I hope that we can be honest where there is some hidden curriculum, some hidden rules, right? When it comes to employment, right? Not everyone plays by the same levels or same degrees in there, right? And then Zaire talked about having multiple jobs in the video. That's changed too. Before it was a no-no to change from one job to the other for a long time, right? But the world has changed here. But those relationships, those authentic relationships that Claudia was talking about, and so was Jody, about being who you are, makes an impact, because then you're no longer a name on an email or on a piece of paper. Now you're a full person. They can see you in action in there, right? But networking can be challenging because then it requires intrapersonal and interpersonal skills, right? And that's something that definitely requires a lot of work. And, going back to, our alumni from CDCR, I did mock interviews with them, and I came at them like I would, because I've been on both sides. I've been an interviewer and interviewee, right? And so I'd rather have them, I forgot who said it earlier, get caught up with me and get stuck and get it out and figure it out, versus actually happening on the day of when it counts, right? Which is when the interview or the networking event. Go ahead, Helen.
So I just wanted to let everyone know, I put in the chat, CAPS has a networking site. It's a portal similar to the student portal, and it's where job postings are posted. People check in who passed the exam. So check it out when you have time.
Thank you so much for that plug,
shameless
Helen.
And also, who failed the exam?
No, Zaire. We don't do that. No worries. Yeah. So we are trying to develop our alumni portal. So thank you, Helen, for reminding us of that as well. All right. So here, so let me go back here. These are lists of some other resources that may be beneficial for you in your line of work. The Department of Rehabilitation has a lot of support when it comes to either education and or finding employment. We talked about the ticket to work. There are some American Job Centers here. EDD is a big one, especially if you have unemployment insurance or short term. And then there are some private ones, right? We talked about Indeed and ZipRecruiter. So depending on what the focus is, it's always helpful to look at different sources to see what's out there, right? Because every single organization or website has their focus as well. Okay, so this is all there, and all these links are active and valid. Okay. Now, let's talk a little bit about job retention, right? Why is it important to retain a job? Why is it important to retain a job? Go ahead, Claudia. I see your hand.
Show stability.
Show stability. Now I'm going to continue with this. So, Claudia, why is stability important for me as an employer if I'm going to hire you?
Because you know that I'm going to be there. You can rely on me. You know that I have loyalty, that I'm there within the company, that I'm not just going to go ahead and jet. I'm not gonna leave, you know. I have again, there's loyalty within me and to go ahead and provide for the company. So if I'm there every single day, they're showing that knows that I have a background, maybe 5, 10 years working within the company. And it's not just 2 years here and there, something like that. That they need people who have that stability.
Right. Stability, longevity, things like Claudia, right? Whenever there's high turnover, those are usually red flags. And it costs organizations a lot of money to have high turnover as well. And that's the last thing they want because it affects their bottom dollar. It also affects their reputation and their work, their output. Go ahead, Carla.
Right. No, I agree with Claudia and just echoing off of her. Not only does it show stability and reliability, but also when you stay long at an employment for a long period of time, you know, things happen at the workforce. It's bound to happen, and it just shows resilience. It shows that you're able to stay there and work through the problems and even grow from within it. And that's how you get the opportunity for growth in that same section.
Resiliency is important. And Charlene also talked about dependability. Gracias. Thank you, Carla. Go ahead, Lisa. Agreed, Sydney.
What's also a red flag, if you see the same job coming back up over and over again, it's probably the company and the position as opposed to the people that they're hiring.
Well said. Yeah. If you're, and there's times when I was applying to thousands of jobs and, and I kept seeing the same companies having openings month after month. And I was like, and in the beginning, I applied to those jobs, I'll be honest, right? And then I learned the hard way. There's a reason why there's vacancies. And it's easy to blame the employee, but once it continues to happen, like Lisa said, you got to step back and look at organization, and organizational culture is essential for that as well. So thank you for that. Now, so we're talking about why it's important to have retention. We talked about longevity. Now let's flip it a little bit. Why do people end up losing a job? The ways, why would someone get kicked out of their job? Thoughts? Let's see, we've got a chat.
Sales jobs are tricky.
So, say that again, Samantha?
Sales, like I was in mortgage sales and the market was crap, a whole bag of it. And unfortunately, they closed our San Diego office, which led to 3 waves of layoffs.
So there's ripple effect.
I was in the last wave, so I was there till the end of time, but it was, it's, that could be, and totally out of your control. No,
right. The numbers are the numbers, right? So that definitely has it. But it does have a ripple effect because if money isn't coming in, then money can't go out, right? And Edie brought up something important too, government funding, definitely, right?
Absolutely.
Zaire, what do you have?
I wanted to say, I was looking back and I can't even remember the last time. I said this to myself yesterday. I was just thinking when the last time I was fired. I haven't been fired. And all of these companies I work for, and I'm in sales, they go out of business, come in making great commissions, boom, boom, boom. Next thing you know, office shut down, you come to work, the doors locked over and over and over. And I was saying to myself, when have I haven't really been fired. Every company I was working for just went out of business.
Get laid off. No, thank you. That's important too, right? It still looks bad, but it had nothing to do with you. This is what's said, right? So that's important to know. Angela, what do you have?
So for me, it's where I work at, some people use it as a stepping stone, because there's not a lot of transparency, especially with upper management. So it's kind of like, like we don't have team meetings, we don't team build, and it's like, at least where I'm at right now, I feel like I'm stuck and and someone said there's no room for growth. So it's just like you feel stagnant, like, or unappreciated because you're at the level playing field. But then it's like they expect you to do something, but yet they don't do it themselves. So you're seeing what upper management is doing, and then you're like, no, it doesn't work that way. So
there's something that's missing. Yeah. And once you're in it, you get to see it, right? It becomes apparent over time. Thank you so much for that, Angela. Go ahead, Jody, and then Claudia.
Company downsizing or company moving to another state, another country. They might be getting, let's say, they might move some of their phone lines to India where it's cheaper to hire than it is here in America. And so it's just a total, hey, wait a moment, you have to reapply for the job or you have to go find a new job because they've moved or they've downsized. Maybe even bankruptcy on the job.
Right. So once again, there are factors that are beyond our control, right? And then it unfortunately it falls back on us because then we lose a job, right? And so there is that catch-22, they're a double-edged sword. All right, Claudia, what do you have? And then we'll
Oh, I wanted to agree with Samantha in regards to the marketing because I was doing recruiting, it was nationwide, and it was a lot of quotas. You got to meet a quota by the end of the week. You don't have those numbers, and they'll tell you straight out. And you're working with a team. It would be a team like this, and you had to play nice in the sandbox. But once they tell you it's, once they say, you know what, it's all yours, you better get those numbers, it's cutthroat. And they don't care. You'll get people taking your candidates right from you. And those are the people that you worked with, but it's cutthroat because it's all about numbers. You don't meet those numbers, you're reprimanded and you're out.
And that's real talk as well, right? You just to see how really it becomes about survival and scarcity, right? There's not enough to go around. I need to survive. How do we make this happen? Thank you, Claudia. Gina, what do you got?
Okay, so were you just asking just like how companies specifically, or like, reasons that companies may lay you off, like
Both.
for health reasons or like performance related, for sure. Or like workplace conflict.
Conflict, I think you're saying.
I don't know.
No, yeah. No, all of that above.
It cut out.
No, it's okay. Yeah, so health is a part of
Workplace
it.
conflict.
Okay, workplace conflict, yes. So
Yes.
yesterday we had conflict resolution on purpose, right? To avoid some of those things, but all of that can definitely come into play. Thank you. All right, so we talked about why one may end up losing a job. Well, there's very reasons. First and foremost, I don't want to work here anymore. And then your work speaks for itself or it doesn't, right? You don't get along with people. Notice how someone mentioned the sandbox, right? I think that was Claudia. A lot of this goes back to elementary school and childhood, right? Just kind of who we are as human beings. Hey, you start lying. You're dishonest. You're like, yeah, I arrived on time, and you did it, right? Talking about self-care, right? You don't want to be the stinky person at work because then that becomes an issue for other people, and then that becomes a potential reason, for other reactionary responses. Doing other things than besides your work at work, right? Unable to actually get the work done, your output, timeliness. Maybe you're dealing with some type of addiction. Along with that, you overstated what you actually can do. And lastly, safety and the rules. You break the rules, you aren't practicing safety. These are all common reasons why we would lose a job. Now we're going to flip it, right? Reasons that result in keeping a job. Hey, surprise, surprise, the opposite. You do show up on time consistently. You do as you're told. You follow the processes, the protocols. If you don't know what's going on, you ask questions of your coworkers, your teammates, your supervisors. You do your best to get along with other people. You're friendly, you're respectful. You may not get along with everyone, but you do your best, and that's okay. You show up accordingly to your attire, to your grooming, your personal hygiene. You do your best to be honest and truthful as needed. And you create support systems within to be connected to aid your development. I think Lisa was talking about growth overall, or lack thereof. Instead of focusing on the problem, you focus on being creative. Creativity can be very challenging nowadays, but solutions are an example of creativity. And then I'm going to repeat Joe's quote: show up, be there, do the job, and don't stink. Wise words from Joe Rees. All right, so this is what we're going to do next. I'm going to put you back into your breakout rooms. Now what I'm going to ask you to do is to take turns changing roles in a mock interview. So I want everyone to be the interviewee and everyone to be the interviewer. And if you're like, well, I don't even know what to ask, Carlos, well, you can go back to this slide that has questions, commonly interview questions. And so these are some here. You don't have to use these, but you can if you need to. And then the idea here is that, yes, I'm asking you to put each other on the spot to work through it. right? To keep ourselves honest. And if you're someone who actually interviews well, then hey, we can learn from you as well, right? And so as we go through this communication styles, it's important to know both sides, what it's like to be the interviewer and interviewee. Okay, does that make sense so far? Okay, cool. Thank you, Jeff. And then we're going to come back and then we'll wrap it up. Any questions? Comments?
Help me in
All
an
right.
interview question.
Oh, sorry. Gina, did you have a question? Gina, did you have a question or did I misinterpret? No?
Oh, no, I'm good.
Okay, perfect. All right. All righty, y'all. How was the mock interview process?
Good night, sweetheart. Well, it's time to go.
Oh, look at that serenade. I feel honored now. It's special. Thank you for that, Zaire. Jeff, how was it? And then Irene and then Lisa.
Well, I had an amazing group with Jody, Angela, and Zedric. And man, lots of good answers. We were able to go through the whole group and ask different questions. Great answers, answers I wouldn't even thought of. So it was a great experience. And it was a nice icebreaker.
Awesome. Awesome. And that's what and Jeff, that was the goal, is to see how other people would respond, right? And you're like, ooh, I'll save that for later. You know, like I know I got some other tips from some of your peers as well. So thank you for that. Irene, then Lisa.
Well, yes, I came out of the group singing Ain't No Mountain High Enough.
Ah, yay.
There you go.
Yay.
There you go. That's it. Love that. Love Marvin Gaye. Yeah, definitely. Thank you, Irene. Lisa.
One person takes a question and answer out and get an answer from everybody about it. And they came up with some really good responses. I was like, if I was ever looking for a job again, that's a good one right there.
That's awesome. I know Jenna, yeah, she dropped it. She dropped the truth bomb there, and I was taking notes on my Palm Pilot right here. Like, save that one for later. You know, so yeah, we learning just as you know as we're going through the whole process as well. So thank you for going through that. You know, sometimes, especially if you've been fortunate enough to have an organization you love working for and you've been in your job and you've been far removed from it, right? It can be difficult to remember what it's like to be in those situations and how stressful it can be. But there's also ways to work through that. Okay, so the last thing I'm going to share with you all is just a friendly reminder that we can all use, which is to breathe. And what I mean by that is that when we look at the acronym BREATHE, B for break, R for relax, E for exhale, A for action or acceptance, T for thoughts, H for help, and E for exercise, right? And so especially when it comes through this whole process, right? And when you're in an interview in particular, the breathing does help. Remember, the art of pausing, right? Does help, and with any situation in there. But on behalf of Helen and I, thank you so much. We are officially done with employment prep. You are literally 1 day away from graduation, and that's on Monday. And so please, all of you night cappers, make sure you complete your class evaluations for both navigating services and referrals and employment prep. If you have any outstanding makeup assignments, please get them done ASAP, ideally by tomorrow. If not, the latest before Monday, because Monday we'll be verifying attendance, we'll be verifying assignments, and we want to make sure that Georgie can get you your certificates of completion as soon as possible. But that she won't do that until you're cleared. And please remember, if you go to your syllabus, the last thing all the way in the bottom is a final survey that has to be completed on Monday. You can't do it now and early because it'll get deleted. And that's the last thing that you need to submit to get your certificate of completion. So on that note, let's call it a good